The fifth asshole unfortunate enough to stand in your way is Galakras.
This will be a 2-stage fight that will require a little bit of planning.
A designated tower group should be made to run into the towers when they open. This will consist of a tank, a healer, and 2 DPS, assuming you're on 10-man.
The tower team will be responsible for taking control of the towers and killing the mini-bosses that spawn.
Keep in mind that 3 NPCs can't be allowed to die. Heal them if necessary. Throughout the fight, waves of adds will come at the raid and need to be destroyed. Wave 3 and 7 will contain a mini-boss. Wave 4 and 8 will have a tower boss. There are several adds that spawn, each with some abilities to keep in mind. Dragon Maw Bone Crushers charge a faction leader and cast Fracture on them, dealing 10% of the target's health and damage every second. This is interruptible. Do whatever it takes to get them off the NPC. Dragon Maw Tidal Shamans cast interruptible healing spells on their allies, and they also create healing tide totems which can be attacked and killed. Make sure to kill the totems and kill the adds in a timely manner. Dragon Maw Flameslingers shoot fire-tipped arrows at random raid members, dealing damage to them and leaving behind small void zones on the ground. Dragon Maw Grunts deal decent damage, but they don't really do anything, so just get them down as soon as you can. They're not that big of a priority. Kill the Dragon Maw Dragons when they come, they deal decent damage. Dragon Maw Flag Bearers put down banners that buff other enemies, increasing their melee, range, and casting speed as well as increasing their damage. The banners can be destroyed and should be done so as soon as they spawn. Kor'kron Demolishers enter the fight one at a time and immediately begin firing projectiles at the tower that your raid is currently trying to get inside of. This will deal heavy damage to any raid member inside the tower, and should be focused down immediately. There are a few mini-bosses that will spawn during the fight. Both the tower bosses will attempt to knock you off the tower. Once the tower boss is dead, return back to the ground. Kor'gra the Snake is the first one. Her first ability is Poison Tabbed Blades, which is a stacking debuff that is applied to her target. Curse of Venom is a buff that Kor'gra will use when she hits 50% health. This allows her to use her Venom Bolt Volley. This is an uninterruptible raid-wide nuke. Kor'gra will also leave gas cloud and void zones on the ground that will need to be avoided. 2 adds will also join Kor'gra in the fight. They are Dragon Maw Ebon Stalkers. They will port behind random raiders and inflict large amounts of damage to them in a few seconds. People targeted need to immediately move away from the adds. Lieutenant Krugruk is the second mini-boss. He spawns on the south tower. His first ability is Arcing Smash. This deals frontal cone damage, knocking back anyone hit. He also uses Thunderclap, which deals decent damage in an area around the boss and slowing players' hit. High Enforcer Thranok spawns on the ground on the 7th wave. His first ability is Shattering Strike, which is a heavy cleave attack. Stand away from your tank. Crusher's Crawl will grab a bunch of random raiders to his location. He will then immediately start using Skullcracker. This deals high amounts of damage to anyone in 10 yards, so haul ass away. Master Cannoneer Dagran is the 4th mini-boss to spawn, and she spawns on the north tower. Her first ability is Shoot, which hits a random raider. Muzzle Spray is a frontal cone attack that knocks players back. This will spray in random directions throughout the use.
Whenever a Demolisher spawns, it needs to be destroyed ASAP.
Do not under any circumstances enter the tower while the Demolisher is still alive. Once both towers are cleared, 2 members from the tower team should mount the anti-air turrets in each tower and shoot down the boss, initiating the next phase. Make sure that the Wind Reavers are dead first though. Try and time the shooting of the boss when there are no adds on the ground. During this phase, have all melee stacked behind the boss and all range and healers stand a little bit away behind them. The boss will use an ability called Flames of Galakras. This is a giant fireball that will slowly travel towards the target. Every raider that steps into the fireball will receive a dot for 15 seconds. When the fireball hits the target, it will explode, dealing a large amount of AoE damage. People need to step in front of the fireball and take some damage from it. This will reduce the damage that it will deal once it reaches its end target. This is the reason why everybody is stacked up. If targeted, move behind the raid. Pulsing Flames is a raid-wide aura that will be present throughout the phase. It will deal decent damage to players and increase fire damage done by the boss by 2% per tick.
Phase 2 is when Lust should be popped.
Tanks will need to pick up all the mobs that spawn throughout the fight and deal with the mini-bosses that spawn. They will also need to tank switch once they receive the stack dot from the boss.
Healers, there are so many different sources of damage that people will be taking. If I had advert attention to anything, it would be the constant damage from Pulsing Flames, a constant AoE that affects the raid, and Flames of Galakras.
Also, be ready for Kor'gra's constant raid nuke that she will use. DPS will need to actually pay attention during this fight and not be surfing Reddit for a few minutes. Avoid any obvious damage sources and don't stand at things. Kill the demos first and get bosses down. Pull any adds off the NPCs if you can. Flames of Galakras can hit melee, so react quickly if you're targeted. Everyone should remember to avoid the abilities on the tower that will send you flying. Immediately run away from Ebon Stalkers, get into Flames of Galakras when it's casted, move behind the DPS if you're targeted by Flames of Galakras, run away from Thranok when he pulls you in, and pay attention to when the towers open up.
That's all you need to know to establish a beachhead in Durotar.
Good luck, adventurer.